I'd like to take a second to give full gratitude to the women and men in uniform in Afghanistan and Iraq. We are forever in debt to the service that they provide for us. I'd also like to take a moment just to thank everyone for attending. Your presence alone here reaffirms the fact that there is strong opposition to the policies that have been adopted in Washington. Thomas Jefferson once famously said that an enlightened people and an energetic public opinion will control and enchain the aristocratic spirit of government. And I think what you see here is indicative of what Thomas Jefferson was conveying. We are the energetic people, and our job at this point is to retake Washington and let them understand that it is governed by the people here, not them. Many out there may not realize at this point, but this juncture in history actually represents a tipping point. Washington is beginning to realize that their status as intellectual elites is wavering. Their leading ability is in serious question, and their motivation, as it normally is to blame anyone else besides themselves in a desperate and pathetic attempt to deflect where the real blame lies, which is obviously on them. From bad bankers to deregulation and fraud to the free markets, all have been subject of Washington's attention and media scrutiny to hoodwink the American people from realizing that Washington is the ultimate source of the problem. It's our job at this pivotal crossroad to tip the balance back into the favor of what the Constitution originally intended. It's our job to reclaim this country for the people. And it's our job to realize that for decades now, this country has been in the process of a slow transformation into a socialist society. In this situation, I like to use the adage about the boiling frog that my father once told me when I was young to emphasize this point about our shift to socialism. It was recently used by Governor Rick Perry of Texas, and I'll give him credit even though he neglected to mention my name in his speech, even though the idea did originate from me. If you bring a pan of water to a boil and throw a frog in, what happens? The frog naturally jumps out because it's in a desperate attempt to save its own life. Now, put the frog in the pan and slowly, gradually increase the temperature over time. The frog eventually is burned up. Essentially, we are that frog. For decades now, we've been the victims of a systematic effort by our own leaders to expand the size and scope of government through increased laws, taxation, regulation, and ownership of the private sector. And apparently now, capitalism is the new evil word being filtered down from Washington. We are a country in an economic crisis, with a leader who thinks innovation is better suited coming from the public sector as opposed to the private sector, who is charismatic and stresses hope for this country's future, preaches redistribution of wealth and transforming the current system to help the economically weak, and also strives to drastically increase gun control. Democratic socialism, or some variant, is on the horizon, no matter how much we would all like to deny it. So, how do we proceed from here? Do we go quietly into the night after our one lone fleeting moment on April 15th? No. Will we be the generation remembered as those who staved off the far-reaching tentacles of a socialist regime? Yes. Or will we be forgotten as those who were plummeted into the abyss of a dictatorship resulting from massive government expansion? No. We don't hope as Americans, as President Obama would like. We act. We, the enlightened and energetic public, will once again enchain and control our own government as it should be and Thomas Jefferson intended. 50 years from now, history will reveal this particular time as either a cruel indicator of what might have been or a timeless reminder of what this country is truly capable of. Yes. I prefer to be on the latter. How about you? Yeah. One final note. On the eve of our national tea parties, Homeland Security and Janet Napolitano have warned of radicals on the right associated with terrorist activity. Good for us. While their definition of right-wing radical remains vague for the intended purpose of justifying information to obtain information on everyone on the right, their timing could not be any clearer. If the definition of a right-wing radical entails individuals who participate in tea parties to protest the massive infiltration of their own government and unprecedented government expansion into the private sector, well then I'm your radical. So then let me spare the taxpayer frivolous dollars spent by our own government to investigate me. My name is Shaun Christopher Curry of Grants Pass, Oregon. I am educated, considered intelligent by some, and a proponent of massive rollback of government. I support and exercise my Second Amendment right and will continue to do so no matter what the cost. I am passionate about my beliefs and an unwavering patriot. If that is how Janet Napolitano classifies a right-wing radical, then they know where I am. Come and get me.